So Integra was founded in 2006 as an enterprise open source solution provider, and today we are a premier partner with Red Hat, and we are also an advanced commercial and public sector consulting partner with AWS for the region. We support all the operating system distributions like all Red Hat Linux, Amazon Linux, SUSE, Oracle Linux, etc., which is apart from the entire ecosystem that runs on this OS. So we consult, we implement and support and also provide manager services. And we have a fully certified local team of AWS, Linux, and Microsoft engineers in our team. Okay, so let's start with Ansible. So Ansible is a simple agentless task automation engine. So all these tasks which we should automate are grouped or together, which are called plays, and these plays are configured inside a file which is called playbook. So we will get into details about the components, features, and usability of Ansible later in the later slides. And here is a small introduction to Ansible Tower. So Ansible Tower is an enterprise framework for controlling, securing, and managing our Ansible automations as a UI or via a RESTful API. Okay, so the main features of Ansible. Ansible is very simple and easy to use. So it is a human readable automation. It is a declarative way of describing your task in the form of YAML. And you need no special skills or programming skills for doing this, using this Ansible automation. And the tasks are executed in an orderly manner. So this helps you to achieve productivity by using Ansible automation. Going to the powerful features of Ansible, so it helps you to deploy your applications. It helps you to do the configuration management. It also helps you to do the workflow orchestration, which can be very complex. So we can say that it helps you to do stuff orchestration in the entire application lifecycle. Okay, the agentless feature. So Ansible is completely agentless architecture. So what it means that it uses OpenSSH or WinRM to connect to your nodes and perform the automation. So there are no agents to be installed or updated or maintained. So this makes it a more efficient and secure. Okay, so Ansible can play a vital role in your organization's DevOps implementation. Why? Because one of the reasons, this automation engine can help you with your application lifecycle, which is starting right from the development testing till you deploy the application to the production. That is one. And if you see the second way, Ansible is a single automation language that can be read and written across all your IT teams, so they can use it for understanding the automations happening. Okay, so let's see how Ansible works. So users can interact with Ansible by means of playbooks or ad hoc commands. So as a result, when you perform a play or when you interact with a command, it can work on your host or your network infrastructure and do some actions for you. So at the core of the Ansible automation engine, it consists of 4 components: inventory, the API, and modules and plugins. So let us explore in a bit detail about all these components. Okay, playbooks. So playbooks are a way to declaratively write down your task it combines many tasks and it is written in YAML syntax. So the task will be carried out by default in a sequential manner. So we can execute the playbook or the plays against one or all of the hosts provided in your inventory. So the playbooks also allows us to perform inline documentation with the use of YAML comments. So, and inside the play, the tasks are achieved by invoking the required Ansible modules. Okay, modules are the toolkit which works under the hood to make a specific action work. So we can write, there are so many already existing modules provided by Ansible, and we can also write custom modules in Python, PowerShell, etc. So if you look at this, this is one of the screenshot taken from Ansible documentation regarding one of the modules. So every module has set of parameters which we can leverage inside the task written in the playbook. Okay, inventory. So an inventory file defines the host or the host groups which we will be used for running the plays against. So we can, in the example, you can see two groups, two host group, one is web and one is DB. So we can mention the groups or we can individually mention individual hosts as well. Okay, Ansible can integrate with your existing private or public cloud. So by this way, we can create a custom configuration management database by integrating with all these cloud implementations and maintaining a dynamic inventory. And as you can see, it supports many of the major cloud providers like OpenStack, AWS, Google Cloud, etc. Okay, so Ansible can help you automate, or Ansible can work or integrate with many of the technologies, popular technologies available. So if you look at the specifications, it can work with clouds like AWS, Azure, Google, like I just explained. It can also work with various operating systems like Red Hat, Enterprise Linux, or Windows, and of course containers. It can work with Docker, RHP, OpenStack, and OpenShift. It can work with various storage, and it can work with various network infrastructures, and security implementations. And also it can help you automating tasks with monitoring technologies like Dynatrace, Datadog, also DevOps workflows like Jira, GitHub, Vagrant, etc. Okay, let's see how a playbook actually looked like. So this is an example of the playbook. So inside a playbook, there will be many plays written. So a play actually consists of a set of tasks to be performed. So we can this is how let's see how Ansible provides the metadata or a documentation part inside a playbook. So the highlighted ones, you can see there is a name tag associated with the play level as well as the individual tag level. So the name itself is self-explanatory, like what exactly the actions is going to be inside the playbook. Okay, and let's see with what all host this execution or this play will be associated with. So it is mentioned like host all, which means that this playbook or this play will be implemented against all the hosts to achieve this task. Okay, variables. So you can define variables inside the playbook, which is at the play level. So later in the task, you can leverage all these variable values which you define here. Okay, remote user as root. So this means that this defines as what user Ansible should do all the actions at the host, like we mentioned below, in the task sections. And finally, these are the modules and the modules specific actions. So if you see the task, the first task is like installing HTTPD, which is Apache. So we are leveraging the yum module for this, and we are telling it to install the HTTPD, which is the Apache package, and with the latest available version. Similarly, we have other modules in this example like template, which is used to manage files from your source machine to the remote server. And also you are using another module for managing services. So we can maintain or manage the state of a specific service. So in this case, Apache. Okay. So let's see what is Ansible Tower. So Ansible Tower is an enterprise framework which is used for controlling, securing, managing your Ansible automation with a UI and RESTful API. So it has many features like role-based access control, and you can have complete level of automations with security, and it has also central logging feature for complete visibility or audit. So let's see some of the features. So the Ansible Tower at the core, it contains the open source automation or open source version of Ansible. But along with that, along with the features of Ansible, Tower has some extra features like which will have fine-grained control, which can schedule and centralize jobs, and which acts as a single pane of glass, like which provides you complete visibility and audit features, logging features, and also you can integrate it with your organization's Active Directory. So it's very easy to manage the users or the access delegations. So this is just an overview of the components the Ansible Tower has. So it actually helps us to do many stuff like provisioning, infrastructure, or configuration management, or application deployment, or CI/CD, and which also helps you to achieve security and compliance, and also helps with orchestrations. So like I explained, we will not go much detailed into all this, but let's proceed further with the features. Okay, so let's start with the components of Ansible Tower. So job template. So job template is something. Job template is something like a reusable component which contains your playbooks, also your inventory and your credentials together bounded as a single template. So this template can be used for multiple times. You can share it within multiple projects. So this is how the code reuse, or it can also be version controlled. So that is what job templates helps us inside the Ansible Tower. So you can define and manage various job templates. Okay, inventory. This is similar to the similar inventory which the open source Ansible has. So inside the inventory, we mentioned the host or the host groups upon which we should perform the actions or activities. So we can inside the Ansible Tower, we can maintain different set of inventories, and we can assign it to a specific job templates. So there is a fine-grained control happening here. Credentials. So we know that when we do automation task, or we will have to connect to various other integrated systems. We'll have to connect to databases to perform some actions. Also, we'll have to connect to networking devices for some specific username passwords. So Ansible Tower helps you to centralize management of these credentials, sensitive username passwords with encryption. So the end user or whoever is performing the automation does not need to know what the exact credential is. This provides an enterprise level security for with all your secrets used across the plays or the job templates available. Okay, project. So project is actually a logical grouping or a collection of your set of playbooks and set of inventory files and job templates. So you can associate one project with one like your source code management system or a version control system. So inside one tower, inside an Ansible tower, you can define n number of projects and you can provide granular access to specific users or specific team to operate on or work on specific projects. Coming to the RESTful API, so we all know that Ansible Tower is a very simple UI based tool, which is like we can see the things in the UI console. But along with it, we can also leverage the RESTful API to do some programmatic access. Suppose you can integrate Ansible Tower features. So whatever features are available through the web console, you can avail it programmatically via the APIs, which you can obtain from the console itself. Okay, role-based access control. So you can, like I was mentioning previously, we can do the fine-grained access control here. So you can provide access to specific projects, inventory files, as well as credentials to a specific user or specific user groups, I mean teams, by a role-based access control mechanism. And this is all happening with the help of enterprise authentication integration, which means that you have set of users in your on-premise Active Directory or in your cloud, for example, Azure AD, or you have a GitHub users, or you can use OAuth or LDAP. So all these you can integrate with your Ansible Tower. So the same user can assign specific accesses and you can perform the fine-grained access control, which I was explaining before. Coming to the centralized logging part. So this Ansible Tower can, it audits, it logs all the plays, all the executions and scheduled job runs. And you can actually export all these logs. If you have a existing logging tool solution or a CM solution, you can integrate your Ansible Tower with that. So all actions performed, all automations performed in the Ansible Tower will be completely logged and it will be centrally available, so which you can leverage in a later stage for audit purpose. Coming to workflows. So workflows can actually integrate multiple job templates in a visual form. So you can arrange it, you can arrange the dependency, you can relate it, but also you can integrate the approval mechanism. So when the workflow running starts, it has to wait for your approval or the specific user's approval to provide to running the next job. So which helps us to make it more secure for your performing various automations. Web hooks. So we know that Ansible Tower can integrate with your version control system or your code repository. So as and when there is a change happening in your code repository or there is a trigger in your code commit in your version control system, for example, GitHub or GitLab, that webhook action can actually start an automation associated with the code change. So this is achieved by means of webhook integrations. So this helps us to achieve GitOps. Coming to the scaling feature. So the Ansible Tower can be implemented, actually is implemented as a cluster. So which means that it ensures that the Ansible Tower is always highly available, and which when you perform intense operations, which, like for example, you managing thousands or 2000s of host, you perform parallel automations across all these heavy number of nodes, you can scale the Ansible tower. So you can leverage Kubernetes or OpenShift to spin up more Ansible tower hosts or nodes inside the cluster. This shows like how it is easily available and expandable. And these are some of the global customer base who are actually leveraging Ansible Tower. Okay, so by this, I will just hand the presentation over to my colleague Rajesh Nair, who will take you through managing Windows automation with Ansible.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Rajesh. I'm a senior solution architect at Integra Technologies. So I would be briefing you about how you can manage your Windows host or workloads using Ansible, which is not commonly used around any of the places. So it would be a good view on how to use it. So I would just go into deep dive on how to manage it. The prerequisite for managing Windows nodes would be you need to have a WinRM, that would be Windows Remote Manager, to be enabled on your Windows host. And the second, you need to have a PowerShell 3.0 or later, any of the version that is above 3.0. And next would be .NET Framework 4.0. This PowerShell and .NET would be available both in Windows 2012 or later versions. And next, the major inputs that you need to provide the variables, the below variables that is shown. You have to give these variables on your Ansible Tower credential, or you have to provide these as a variables in your inventory so that it can interact with your Windows nodes through Ansible. So the variables that are, one is username, that can be your admin username or any other username that you have given access to manage your Windows workloads. The next would be Ansible, the password of that particular user. As the third variable would be, as you all know, SSH is not supported in Windows, so we are using WinRM to connect to that particular Windows nodes. And the next variable that we would be using is to invalidate the server certificate, because there would be so many self-signed certificates that can have an impact on it. Next, we will be explaining you about, there are different kinds of modules available for Windows that you can leverage from Ansible technology, in which there are a couple of modules are like win_copy, which will help you to copy from one source to destination. That can be your control node of Ansible to the Windows workloads, and couple of other Windows modules, which some of the modules will be explained in the later slide as an example of how you define your playbooks for your Windows workloads. So as you can see here, we are trying to this is an example of playbook wherein we have IaaS services to be started and firewall to be disabled on the Windows host. So here in the first part, you can see the host variable that defines you what all host that you need to define, or what all group of Windows services that you need to deploy these kind of tasks. So we are using a module called win_sr service, which will help you to start a service, stop a service, pause, or to entirely disable a service. Next, this playbook is an example of how you can create a local admin user using Ansible for the remote Windows servers. So wherein we are using a Windows module called win_user, which will help you to create a new user and set a password, and also add that user to the administrator group. Next, this is the module that we are currently using for creating an AD user would be win underscore domain underscore user. In this, you can have different parameters like name, first name, surname, password, or group where you want to add this particular user to, and state you want to create it present. Is it present? You can check it whether it is available or not, or you can add your email address as well. Next one is this would be to next module that we are going to use is win underscore updates, wherein you are going to give you are going to send you are going to run a playbook wherein it is going to update your host, Windows host. That can be some of the updates in some scenarios wherein you might not need some security updates, you might not need some of the critical updates. So in that scenario, you can define your blacklist which are not required, and you can also define the updates that are required to run in your host machines that you can define. As you all know that if you are a Windows administrator, you know that after an update, there might be some of the updates that need a reboot. So the next next particular module that we are going to use is win underscore reboot. That would help you to reboot if you require a reboot. So this is how we create a Windows updates task job scheduler in Ansible Tower, wherein you can define which, as defined in the earlier slide, you can also define it using your playbooks, or you can specifically give in an Ansible Tower, these are the updates that you require, and these updates are not to be installed. Next, we are going to use a module, Windows module called win underscore domain underscore membership, which will help you to add all your Windows workloads or Windows host to the domain. Here we have given as a contoso.corp. That would be the domain that this would be adding to. And once it is added, it would fetch all the details of if it is added or if it is failed, on which host. All the details would be fetched and saved into a variable called domain underscore result that you can later on use to output your details to a particular text file or wherever you want to evaluate something. All right. And as you all know, after a domain join of Windows, you will have to have a reboot. So we are using the same Windows module called win underscore reboot that will help you to reboot your instance once the domain join has been added. So let's next we would see how Ansible can help you in creating some of the services in cloud that is available, public cloud that is available in the market. One here you can see that we are trying to create a VPC, AWS VPC, that is the network in AWS, using a module called EC2 underscore VPC underscore net that will help you to create a module. And this particular playbook would be running in your Ansible control node, as it is defined in the playbook that connection is local and the host would be local. So that means it would be running in your Ansible tower or Ansible host that it is running. Similarly, it's similarly how you do it in Azure, that you can create a virtual network in your Azure environment, wherein you can create. We are using a module called Azure underscore RM underscore virtual network. So that's it. Let's move on to the questions.
Okay, so I have a question. Yeah, I think this is the end of the presentation. It was just a brief introduction to how using Ansible can help you simplify your management of your infrastructure. as well as the benefits of using control tower when you have a larger enterprise to manage. So let's go through some questions that we have. One question is, can Ansible manage mixed infrastructure like both Windows and Linux? Yes, certainly. Ansible can definitely help you manage Windows, Linux, your network infrastructure. It can help you pretty much, as in an earlier slide. You can manage most of the common environments that you see around you, be it operating systems, be it applications, be it your Git repositories, be it your network devices. So it's basically it can use. So there's another question which says, how secure is Ansible, as some procedures require for disabling firewall in devices? Specifically, firewall disabling is not required in your devices. You only need certain ports that need to be opened up. Specifically, if you're looking at WinRM or OpenSSH, you can utilize those specific ports, open up those ports, but then you can also restrict it, those ports to be coming in only from, allowing traffic to be coming in only from your Ansible host or Ansible nodes. This thing. So does so that means that you can pretty much have secure access. Now there is another question which says, what is the benefit of using Ansible Tower over Ansible? So basically, Tower it gives you a single pane of view over your many Ansible nodes, as well as gives you a complete enterprise level view of the Ansible landscape. And it gives you added features like role-based access controls. It gives you the ability to scale up and scale down your Ansible node deployments, so that you can have scaling that befits your enterprise level. So
the next question is, does Ansible connects via HTTP or HTTPS port to the target clients?
So that depends on where it is connecting to. If it is connecting to a Linux host, it will be using the 422, which is the secured SSH port. If it's using the Windows, if it's connecting to a Windows, then it will be using the WinRM, which is also secure over SSL. I forgot the port number, but it uses the WinRM port.
5095.
5095.
WinRM will be using 5095, or
so it doesn't,
custom port.
So it doesn't use HTTP or HTTPS.
Okay, there is a question, I think, which Namita can answer. How does Ansible licensing work? So I'll leave that to Namita maybe after. Yeah, so I got a reply
Ansible
there.
licensing.
Ansible licensing, Ansible Tower licensing basically is based per 100 nodes that you manage. So how is Ansible licensing works? What are the alternatives for Ansible? So you have many different configuration management tools that you can use, but obviously, because that is not the topic for today, but I can just tell you, Chef, Puppet, you have different kinds of open source as well as enterprise supported tools that you can use. But the advantage of Ansible is that pretty much it gives you an agentless, and with the combination of Ansible Tower, it gives you capabilities for the enterprise. So that's why we recommend that going forward, Ansible is possibly your choice. I wouldn't say that it is the best choice, but then it would most probably be the best choice for you. Does Ansible offer perpetual license? Actually, Ansible is open source per se. The Ansible engine is free and open source. And I believe that if you have a Red Hat subscription, you get the Ansible module with it. But the Ansible Tower, which helps you manage multiple Ansible nodes and gives you an enterprise offering for managing your Ansible nodes and your infrastructure, is licensed. and they're basically subscription based. It's not a license. Red Hat doesn't operate on a license model. You have to purchase a subscription, and as mentioned before, it's subscribed. You have subscription on 100 node subscription model. So for each 100 nodes you manage, you will have to have a subscription. I think that any other questions? So somebody asked a question about Ansible VMware. So what we'll do is that to get you details on how to integrate Ansible with VMware, we can send you a document that will explain in detail on how to do that. Any other questions? Okay, so anyway, after this presentation is over, we will send you an email, and then we will give you links to documentation that you can use to see or how it gives you an introduction to Ansible and how you can use Ansible in your environment, Ansible as well as Ansible Tower. And if you would like to have a proof of concept, or you would like to have a presentation specifically for your requirements, please feel free to reach out to either to us or to Redington, and we would be happy to arrange a session specifically for your use case. We can even give you a proof of concept subject to whatever terms and conditions are applicable, and to see whether and you can evaluate Ansible Tower in your organization. All right, so Namita has given us her email. You can always send out requests to that email ID, and we'd be happy to help with specific technologies, both with Red Hat technologies as well as with AWS technologies. So hope to see you soon. Thank you.